All right, we here. This might be quick. You know, I'm in a situation where my internet might be going in and out, so I don't know how long I might be up. But basically, I was listening to a good stream and I was getting some good information. I believe the channel is Tommy Bryson, and basically he's into finance. I think his father was in finance. He was in banking. And so, with that being said, what's going on, Conscious? He ended up getting a level of understanding about money. And when he got that level of understanding about money, him coming on his YouTube channel and trying to spread that good message with everybody, I kind of appreciate that because, that's the thing. Like the old cliches, each one teach one, take a village to raise a child. All of us need to get together, make it work. It always start with those level of conversation, but with this generation, you ain't really seeing it move or elevate to a certain length. You know, when it come down to it, I can entertain people all day. I come on other people chats. We laugh and put what's called Sun Cloud in the building. You know, I can entertain, I can joke, I can stay on topic with all this stuff, just like everybody. But for the most part though, I always try to, get people to a point of having the conversation right now about your finance, about getting things together in life because, you know, we don't have these topics like that, man. That's like the biggest what's going on third, what's going on spun. You don't really have these topics like that until it's too late, you know. And that's what I be trying to put more or less the focus on, getting people to understand, man. In case nobody ain't told y'all, and in case you ain't looked in the mirror, we old. You know, you get to the point where you can be called pops. A couple of y'all still young. I think Spawn young, but to a degree, even you out of high school, dog. You know, you come to the age of maturity of adulthood. You know, you get to a point where a little kid might walk by you and call you Mister. You know, you go around old school there with the liquor stores. You got the younger kids calling you pops, dad, and all that. You know, I was telling my brother, he was like, "Yeah, man, dude called me unc." You know, and it's funny because my boys, you know, they start calling their Uncle Marv. Don't you know? Everybody at his job call him Uncle Marv. His old lady started that because she was like, "Come on, Uncle Marv." He like, "What, man? What you calling me Uncle Marv for?" Then the dudes at the job like, "Why you calling Uncle Marv?" He like, "Cause they get on his nerve because his nephew's calling Uncle Marv." Then they start calling him Uncle Marv. So it's like to a point, man, you old. But what you gonna do with your life? You know, it's like that Everest commercial coming to life where you sitting up there and somebody telling you what you doing with your life. Why you sitting here on the sofa? Go to college, do something with your life. A lot of people ain't grasping that concept. You know, that's why I try to provide more or less a little bit more of education as far as a little entertainment side. I joke it every now and then. I say some little stuff, controversial stuff, but my main thing is giving people some stuff they can grow and live with. That's like I talk about life insurance so much, not only because I got it, not only because I deal with Alonzo with it. My great grandma, she basically told me, if you die and don't have life insurance, you being a burden to somebody else. Me and my friend, we was having a conversation saying that the old fish fry has become the new GoFundMe. Everybody wants a GoFundMe to bury their family member. Prime example. Um, the dude that died telling Stuart what's going on. The dude that died in Memphis, I think his name was Big Scar. Big Scar was a successful rapper, got signed to 1017 record label. But when Big Scar died, he didn't have no life insurance. He didn't have no money set up or nothing. You know, the family reached out to Gucci Man, who is the CEO and the owner of So Icy 1017, and it got to a point to where he was saying that I pay for the funeral, but give me my chain back. You know, that chain is a property of me, and I don't want nobody else wearing the chain if you're not on the record label. I can understand that. You know, it's branding. You know, the American Gangster, when you had Denzel Washington was saying that, you know, the blue mag is just like he stand behind that. Anybody wearing his record label chain if they wasn't a part affiliated with it. And I can understand that. But for his family was like, we're gonna keep the chain and you're gonna pay for it. So he took it upon himself to do the righteous thing, paid for the funeral, but he directly went to the funeral home they versus going through family. Then the family that they could have went to other stuff too, and they was only gonna put a little on the funeral. So which one is it? You want him to pay for the funeral, or you want him to give you some money? And see, this is all from a level which his father should be doing. If you want to pay for this man's funeral, his father. He didn't get the knowledge to learn, get some life insurance just in case. You know, one thing T.I. family always talk about be a rich in the street and then life insurance on because see 25. Believe it or not, a lot of people, you know, think in that capacity that, you know, I'm gonna live for, you know, or I'm gonna be the king of the streets and this and that. You know, told me, and it's funny, she said, you ain't bad, you just smell bad. Because bad people are in two places. They in the ground or they in jail. And so that gave a level of understanding that, you know, with me growing up, if I wanted to live a certain life, I had to deal with the consequences. And with dude, he didn't deal with the consequences accordingly, ultimately lost his life, and the families yeah, I had dropped for a minute, but the family ended up reaching out to the owner of the company that he runs, which is Gucci Man, and was telling him to pay for the funeral. With that being said, I've never seen McDonald's, you know, families reaching out to McDonald's, telling them pay for the funeral. I never seen family members reaching out to other companies telling them to pay for the funeral if a family member down the clock. It's at that company's discretion if they want to pay for the funeral or not. But be that as it may, when it comes down to it, how many people, you know, really got their life together? How many people really looking for something with some substance? You know, because that's the biggest thing. We can get on the internet, play, joke, and all that all day, but when it comes down to it, like, what are we really looking for? You know, when we on here, a lot of times I joke and play. I get into these situations with people, but more or less, I do a lot of, you know, looking at documentaries. You know, I do a lot of looking, seeing what's going to be the best results of me going, you know, try to find a better path. I always speak on generational wealth because that's what I'm trying to, provide for my family. And I'm not trying to just, you know, give me a good job and be that as it may, you having a good job, that's not generational wealth. You lose that job, then how much is your generation worth with you losing your job? If you owning a company, if that company goes bankrupt or nobody buys your products, could you say that company is backing your generational wealth? You know, getting assets. Even with me, if I buy a house, something happens, I have a flood, that house is insured. I get that house rebuilt, still sold. You know, assets that last over time. That's why, I push on life insurance, buying homes. Those are the assets that you can keep, put them in trust, put them in wills. I prefer trust, but, you know, be that as it may, you can carry to the next generation. That's generational wealth. Just you having a job saying that you creating generational wealth, that's not generational wealth. What you buying one house, maybe two houses, if you leave it to the kids and just about paying it off, then that's generational wealth. Other than that, you're passing on your debt to your kids. You know, if those assets are not worth anything because you took the equity out the house or refinanced and got a higher rate, then your kids are walking into debt. They might as well not even, took on that responsibility of that high interest rate home. That's the thing. Every time a parent dies, it's a reset to the next generation because that next generation is not coming in with that wealth, and the ones that are coming in with that wealth, how are they using that wealth? They need the knowledge to obtain that wealth and keep it growing. That's the biggest thing. A lot of us, we hear this. As people, we die from a lack of knowledge. Each one teach one. Nobody's out here giving the information and say, look, this is how you make, we can give the recipe on this is how we make grandma's famous fried chicken or best pecan pie, Sakatimi banana pudding that, knock your socks off. Why are we not giving this information to help us move forward in life? Banana pudding good and all, but over time I eat it too much, it's gonna give me diabetes. Give me something that's gonna give me life lessons that can help me along in life to where either I use it or I pass it to my kids. There's certain things and certain situations, we can't be a part of at this time. It's gonna come a time to where my kids are gonna be going to the governor's ball or maybe going to the president's, going to the White House. May not be my kids, maybe my grandkids. I was listening to this generational wealth video, and they were saying that, a lot of kids when they're young, they tend to get mad at the boy that has everything, has all the latest shoes. He has all the video games when they come out. All the kids want to go to that kid's house, or if not, he's bringing all his stuff to school, showing you like this is my worth. Have all the latest shoes when they come out, always dress nice. Kids tend to envy those kids when they're young, but as they get older, you can set that path for your kids, but that's if you choose to accept. A lot of people are not accepting that. A lot of people are not putting their kids in position to win. That's like with me. I had some things. I didn't have everything I want. So I put my kids in position. As long as you're responsible, do your work, have decent grades, you can just about get anything to a degree. Like they say, times may vary because I'm not going to buy you 10 pair of the latest Jordans and I still got to pay rent or I have other investments or something going on, But at the same time, I can sit here and buy you 2 or 3 pair and you be okay and I still live comfortable, because that's the understanding that you still got to live. You got to budget. That's the thing we're not teaching our kids, A lot of times I give my kids a whole bunch of money just to see what they're gonna do with it. You know, I believe one Christmas I bought them what is it? Google Play cards because they're into Roblox and all these different online games. I bought 100. My brother bought 100, and my other brother bought 50. So that was 250. Their brother and sister gave them, I think, 25 or 75 together. So in all, they had 325, about 350, something around in there. One of my sons spent all his money in literally 19 minutes. The other one, it took him a couple of months. But the thing is, I was like, man, I should say something. But then it got to a point to see where they stand because, if you're the type of kid that spends money wildly, then I can negotiate on how to talk to you. If you're a kid that's a little more reserved, that spend your money a certain way without nobody telling you to save, then that puts into play, again, how I'll be able to deal with you. A lot of times we have these conversations with our kids, but none of us are really guiding them in a proper way because most of the time we don't know. There are situations that I think I know, I'm teaching it wrong. Or I'm teaching it, half, not the full truth of it. I'm only speaking for what I know, how I do things. So my level of education, graduated high school, some technical, but mainly that's it. Me seeking knowledge, learning on the internet, speaking out, reaching out to different people in those fields. Shout out to Alonzo for the videos that he give me. Marty, I heard him one time say that he sits up there and deal with Alonzo a lot to a point that, he damn near can, roll with Alonzo and write a book on this. Same as me, in my other phone. Oh. Well, I tend to want to do the same as well, get all the information I can. That's one of the basic things, like I told Alonzo, why I dealt with him when I first got my insurance. The first time I talked to him, we kept saying we're going to get up and we're going to have a conversation. So when we finally got up to have the conversation, there were some key questions I asked, certain things I wanted, to understand. I already knew majority of it, but I wanted to see his level because if I know more than a person, or if I get to the point where we're on somewhat of a playing field, then I say, okay, this is a sensible conversation. It's a sensible guy. We working on this. This goal is this, and I can understand from that point. But if it gets to a point where my knowledge is on the same playing field as yours, or if not better, then we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. That's like if I'm buying a house and I'm talking to my agent, I'm telling my agent everything he needs to do to facilitate the deal. Why am I even dealing with that agent? That agent knowledge is trash, in my opinion. And that's the whole thing. Salute, what's going on? And when we have these issues, that's the whole thing. Gaining the knowledge. To be honest, there's no reason why when I dealt with Alonzo, I'm different than most. I know it's gonna be a point where you're gonna have to have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sessions with Alonzo to kind of figure out what you want to do. But understand this: I watched his videos. I did the knowledge for myself. I'm not only just taking this. What I always talk about from a level of being professional, that having somewhat of knowledge. I sit here, listen to Alonzo. Anything that he says, I go research it myself. Then I turn around and talk to other financial professionals, see what they have in the field of this expertise or something to add to my knowledge. So when I was able to go back to Alonzo, I have everything done, because that was the thing. We talked a lot on panels. We never talked, one-on-one. It was always on panels. I would ask questions while he's on the panel. I would, look at his videos, kind of see where he stood, see where I stood in the situation in the matter. So when it came for me to buy my policies, it was nothing for me to say, all right, what you got to offer? All right, this and this. All right, I got a question on this, question on that. All right, so everything's settled. Cool. I want to go ahead and buy now. That's my thing. I was ready to buy then. Like I didn't want to sit here and wait. You know why? I already knew what I wanted. I already knew what I was getting myself into. Why wait 3, 4 months? Why call back? And we had the back and forth. If I know I want a policy, I know what type of policy I want. I know what this policy entails because why? I did my research and we come to an agreement on what I'm willing to spend, then so be it. You know, why I need to call 15 times to have an understanding like, well, I don't like this, I want to do this. No, I should be calling day one because I've did the research. You know, I'm in the process on looking for a house right now. When I'm looking for a house, I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, I just wanna call this agent, talk to him, call the bank, talk to them, you know, shout out Dr. Mark, what's going on? When I'm looking and getting this deal done, I'm doing my research. The guy Corey that I interviewed on my channel, he basically explained it. When he went to borrow the bank 2 and 3 times and talk to different agents. Then he'll call another bank and do the same thing. Everybody's going to give a different answer to a degree if they're not trained properly because, that's one of the things I took for him, which I already knew, is that a lot of people in these industries are not trained properly. There's certain things I know that people in the industry don't know. When the first ever house I was looking at, the deal went south because of some situation on their end, not on my end. I because I questioned them about buying down my Key Kitchen. What's going on? I questioned them about buying my interest rate down. Once they found that out, they didn't want to do the deal because they were going to lose almost $50,000, or maybe if not more. I talked to someone else that was in the broker industry, and they was telling me every point was like $10,000 they were going to be losing if I buy down. The whole reason for them giving me a high interest rate because it benefits them. I didn't know if it had anything to do with my agent, or what. But the whole thing of it was, the deal didn't go through. Everything as far as my paperwork checked out. Went and talked to another company as far as getting me a loan. They said they didn't understand no reason why I didn't get qualified, especially for the house I wanted. At that time, I think it was what 2017, 16. I don't know what year. It was around in that time. Probably was before that. But with that house right there, that house was literally like $137,000. I qualified for $350,000. I always told my wife, we get a house, it's mainly gonna be on our on one income. I didn't want to sit here and try to get a house on 2 incomes and be struggling. For a lot of people that don't know, there's a such thing as house poor. A lot of people end up being house poor because they buy over. And that's the benefit of the agent, is to make you spend more than you really want to spend. Because why? The agent gets the commission. If an agent sit here and know you have to spend a 250, your max is 250, they're gonna start showing you nicer houses. This might be a little bit close to your price range, but I know you want to stay here, but look at what more you get for your price if you max out. You know who do that the same way? Funeral homes. You gotta understand, when you go to get your information far as your funeral arrangements, because I did this with my uncle. He left me to proceed over his funeral arrangement. And the craziest thing was when we were sitting here going over the paperwork and everything, they asked me, how much is the, death benefits, whatever. I said, well, I didn't know. My uncle didn't, give me that information, wasn't privy to it. But it's the thing. The funeral home has to send over the death certificate. And when they do that, they're able to justify how much you're getting, because you're going to be talking to them even if the people at the that's holding policy don't tell them, you'll end up telling them, or they'll just run down the numbers, and try to budget you out. They'll give you a top ranked package and try to budget you out. One funeral home did that, then I ended up going with another funeral home, and they just kindly creeped up. They kindly creeped up a little bit to try to, do that. But when it come down to it, you know, that's their whole intent. And that's what buying a house is the same way. Their intent is to make you spend a lot of money. It's up to you as far as you spending that money or not. Same thing with, with me when I look at certain things in certain situations, it's more or less in my best interest to do research before I get into something. If I'm gonna buy a house, I'm gonna go look at the research the loan process. I'm gonna go and research, credit score. Does it really matter? You know, things that I can avoid if need be. Say I want to buy a car, I go and research. These electric cars are the best things right now. Learning that with Tesla to a certain degree, right at almost 80 to 100,000 miles, you start having, problems with the batteries. So people typically try to sell those cars around that time. The newer Mercedes, the new BMWs, which I've been talking to a lot of people, they are saying that, radiator issues. Expensive as that car is, they have a lot of radiator issues. One guy, he said he bought an X5. He said he changed the radiator in that car 3 times since he had it. He's like, the next time next time he does it, he's gonna be trading that car out. Got low miles on it. He used that to go to his, professional meetings and stuff. Same thing with buying furniture, buying clothes. Quality. What is the material like? How can it last? A lot of people have to take in a factor of these things when you going and buying and doing things. Do your research. One of the biggest things I always say, understand what you're buying, understand what you're doing and dealing with. A lot of us will blindly go in there, sign paperwork, and don't know. And that's how we get played. That's the situation to where, with us not knowing, not doing any research, we get lost. Situations deemed for us not to be educated. A lot of people love when people come into a situation uneducated, not knowing, because it's easier to play mind manipulation. It's easier to run game on you, because if you don't know, you can't question. And if you do question, I can make up something easy. My wife is always telling me how I'm so quick with my responses and my comebacks. I said, well, you gotta be. When I was young, that was the whole thing of the whole thing about Joni is the coming back with the snapback. If I say something, you say something, you gotta come back quick. The person hit it with that ooh. If you don't come back, you lost the competition. You lost the little Jonas system. So that was always the thing. And people are trained in that. You have people that are excellent when it comes to them actually, going at a situation or knowing, they're excellent at it. They can sit there and roll with the best. I'm talking about literally roll with the best. You sit here and do something, they can critique, know you, know how you move. Car sales. I know this lady, she was so cold, she ended up getting fired because of the guys. It was too much competition. She was a lady. She looked good. She worked at this Dodge dealership, you know, and she good with the talk. I'm talking about with the tongue. She can literally talk somebody. You know, you have those salesmen that say, "Well, I can talk a man out of this, and I can talk a man into this." She was easy with it, and that's the thing. A woman that's easy on the eye and has that brain, she can manipulate most guys that are, easy being manipulated because, you know, you're going after beauty, you're going after the sight. She already has the intelligence. So when she sees she got you with a smile, boom, easy in those relationships. That's how most people, get overtaken. You have a good looking woman, you're so memorized on the woman, you're forgetting why you're there. You know, when those Hellcats and stuff came out, she was selling those things like hotcakes to all the young guys that came in. You know why? Because for one, the car was already a good. It sell itself. You know, if you needed a fast car, it sold itself just in general. But for you to have a little more knowledge than most, not saying that, oh man, this is a luxury car. It goes fast. Check out the car. No, when you run those specs to a person that knows cars, they understand that horsepower. They understand the torque. They understand, the ABS with the acceleration, the agility with the brakes. You know, she did it like no other. So with her knowing, you knew what was going on in the building. I haven't seen I haven't seen your channel. I see when you do your videos in the morning sometime when I'm getting up and I'm leaving. I be trying to catch them as I'm driving. But yeah, like seeing you. But she would sell all these different cars to these guys, and that was the whole thing. Her thing was to sit here, know these cars, know who she's selling to, knowing the language, knowing the lingo. She's in a competitive state with a whole bunch of men in this, and she's running the numbers on the cars. You know, she ended up selling the guy a car. He ended up bringing his wife back, got her a car, bought his two daughters and another. I'm talking about. It's just like the way she cut the deal. She'll end up cutting off a lot of her commission to a degree because that's the. Yeah, sorry about that. That was my wife. But when it comes down to it though, that's like the biggest thing. Lonzo in the building, what's going on? But see, that's the biggest thing when it comes down to it. She took a pay cut to sit here and sell more cars. Anytime somebody come in, she'll lessen her pocket to sell more cars. She ended up selling this one guy high end Hellcat, older guy, older age. He came in looking at the Dodge. He was just gonna get a regular, RT or just even a regular Dodge Charger. She ended up getting him the Hellcat. He ended up coming back in, getting a pickup truck, a SUV, and I think he got his daughter an Avenger, and I think the other daughter something else. But the whole thing, he was like, "We keeping it in the family, the Dodge family. That's how she promoted it to him. Keep it in the family. All your family got Dodge. Everybody over here with Dodge, you already know. Then you telling a friend. Same thing with my cousin. Cousin did the same thing. When he bought his car, his wife got it. Then he ended up getting his stepdaughter, his son. His son was in Detroit. His son ended up buying a car down here and driving it back up to Detroit. That's how much influence he had in that dealership. My cousin ended up to this day. I think my cousin. I think he pays 425. He bought a 2018. Was it? No, it's 2019. But it's he bought it at 18. Brand new car, paid 425. The dude at the dealership said, "Sir, you buying an SUV? It's unheard of to get these prices like that now." But he got that price for that car. You know, and that's like the biggest thing. That budgeting, that knowing be able how to talk to your customer, knowing how to communicate. You know, what kind of extra incentive or deal you can get me because I'm a repeat customer. I bring in people. Every time he see my cousin come in there, 10 out of 10, they walking away buying something. I take a pay cut. If I'm gonna make a certain commission, if I'm gonna make 5,000 off of every car I sell, I end up going for like $3,000 because I know every time I deal with you, you're a repeat customer for one, or you're gonna bring in a family member. Same thing. What's going on, Wanda? Same thing with my cousin, well, my play cousin, I should say. His mother ended up when we was with Sprint. I told her, I said, yeah, I got Sprint. So I ended up telling the lady, I said, well, this my cousin, my aunt right here, my play aunt, and introduce her because she had Metro for the longest. Complain. I went to Sprint right there. I think it was La Vista over here in Tucker, Georgia. So I ended up telling her, go to this place, ask for this person. Ask for them. They had the back and forth. I came up there, talked to them, hooked my aunt up with a package with her husband, and then once they did that, she ended up bringing all her kids over. All 5 of the kids had Sprint phones on her line. So they had 7 phones already. My cousin go and get married. His wife is on the line. The grandson comes up. He gets a phone on the line. 2 of the other kids, they get girlfriends. They on the line. They got about 10 lines on her one plan. And she's like, well, this starting to be too much because y'all are not paying y'all phone bills properly. So everybody went and got their separate lines. But the whole point of it is underrated in the building. What's going on, underrated darkness. And when it came down to it, you literally had over 12 lines for this one customer that you was associated with. So when they always will have an issue, no problem, ma'am. We'll take care of it. Oh, somebody incorrectly added a feature on your bill? Don't worry. We'll take care of it. You literally got 12 customers. 12 customers. So why not? It might be small to lose 12 customers. They go to another company, they'll treat them better. Same thing like I said with the car dealership. If you have somebody that's, faithful, buying those cars every 5 years, paying those cars off and coming back, you're going to tend to work with those people. Even with dealerships where people transfer to go to other dealerships. I've had calls like that for when I bought my wife Camry. The people moved over to another company, and one of the sales rep called me and say, are you interested in still buying cars? Right now we got some sales. I was like, no, I'm not ready. They was like, yeah, I moved over to another place. I'm at this place now. I'm like, okay, well, text me your information or send me where you at or this and that, and I could reach out to you when I'm ready. And that's the whole thing, keeping good relations. I remember back when you lose your phone, you lose all your contacts. That was before Google was popping and everybody could say those numbers. They say, man, my coach used to always tell me when I was in high school, he said, losing your phone is like losing a friend. All your contacts and stuff, sometimes you just can't get them back. And so having an understanding that when you have these people, it's like a Rolodex. A lot of people were big on business cards back in the day. Nowadays, everything is at your fingertips. I remember one time I ended up, before I used Google, I ended up breaking my phone. So I ended up going to Sprint, telling Sprint I broke my phone. I don't have no contacts. Sprint printed me out 3 pages of my contacts. And when they printed me out those 3 pages of my contacts, I was able to still keep in touch with my family members by using, other people's phone until I got another phone that Friday. Now I was tapped out. I was like, man, I'm not finna sit here, go in my savings and get a phone, because back in the day I used to try to buy the phone straight out. Those phones like $500. I know every weekend I got paid at least up to 15, anywhere from 1,000 to 15 easy. So I was like, well, I just wait to Friday to buy a phone. I was like, if I buy a phone right now, I'm tapped out because I got other stuff coming out. I had my life insurance coming out. I had my phone bill. Even though my phone was broke, I still had to pay my bill. You know. So when it come down to it, I always gotta, have that savings. If I would have had that savings when I was younger, instead of wilding out, waiting to Friday, I could have bought that phone easily, been back in the game. You know, I had to learn that. That was a trial and error for me. So the older I got, the more I learned, the more, better with my finances I was, and that's the biggest thing. Like, when it came down to it, I was taught to pay my bills. I was taught to make sure my bills are paid on time. But, as far as the finance is savings only taught to me minimum, because if I save money, there were people always out to me to get money. It wasn't until I got a little older when I seen the value of saving, because I was on my own. I was away from people. I could always say I ain't got it now. When you in somebody's house and they know you go to work every day, they expecting you to, hey, give me a little extra until Friday, until my check come and overtime. So that's how it always be. Appreciate that. And when it come down to it, that's what I'm saying. It's like the whole thing is the title, help me help you. When it come down to it, we have situations that, well, we just don't know. Nobody's giving us this knowledge. Nobody's helped us out so far. So we out here winging it. Ah, man, I'm coming in a bad spot. I hope our internet still kicks in. If not, it's gonna have to drop. But like I said, it just, passing on the knowledge. That's what I'm trying to do with my kids. With generational wealth, it's just not with me saying it, it's with me learning it, it's with me speaking on it, it's with me doing it. That's the whole thing. Buying properties, I'm in the process of looking at properties now. I'm in the process, I got 3 life insurance. I'm in the process of getting more. I'm looking to see my better options, because my thing is, I got my kids and my wife squared away. What about my grandkids? If I don't have grandkids, guess that